The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated podcast. I am your host, Mike Azalina, and I'm joined by my buddy, Regz. Regz, I know this wasn't our normal intro. We have like mixed vibes right now, honestly.
Yeah, it's
mixed vibes.
It's interesting.
Excited for tomorrow. A little upset about what just happened about a half hour ago.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. I don't know. I think if the Phillies weren't happening right now, I'd probably feel much worse about the Eagles' loss. But the fact that the Phillies are in the NLCS and are going to play tomorrow, I think kind of softens my not passion is the wrong word, but kind of softens my reaction to what's going on with the Eagles. And I think because of how that game went, a lot of it's very explainable. You know, a lot of it isn't like, is it out of character? Yes. I've been thinking about it. Am I also pretty happy that this happened in like game 6 and not game 13? Like, yes, because I think they've been building up a pretty good false sense of like security, like in getting out of a lot of these games that they've been playing. And I think when you're going to get to the Super Bowl again, you kind of need like a kick in the ass every so often to like keep your motivation up and keep your, keep yourself sharp. So I'm kind of hoping that that's what this was, that this was kind of like, look guys, this isn't last year. We're not coasting on this one like we kind of did last year. So everyone's kind of got to refocus and get it going.
Yeah, I think, we're just going to kind of jump right into this here. Not going to waste any time tonight because we got a lot to cover. And usually, we give you some banter, but we're not going to do that tonight.
This is what we were talking about, and it just, stream of consciousness right into pressing the record button.
We're just going right into it. I agree with you, Regz. I think before we kind of go back into the game and talk about some nuts and bolts situations that happened throughout it, I think what's like really important to consider is that this is perhaps the biggest look in the mirror moment in terms of the Sirianni Hurts regime, right? Like this game should not have been a loss. They're the superior team through and through. There were some things that definitely impacted them offensively. We'll talk about that as we go. But even with that, it's not a game you should lose.
Yeah.
And certainly the team realized that. We're going to jump ahead basically to after the game. We already know they lost. But before we signed on, we found out that Sirianni didn't even speak to the team after the game, that the players spoke. And so I read that from John Clark. You read something from another reporter that talked about who actually spoke. Can you just remind us of who that was?
Yeah. So let me quickly look at that because I lost the tweet a second ago, but I will find it. Nope, not your fault. I just slightly put it away. I'm there now. All right. So it was Maya Lotta. It's from Gabriella Galati. Looks like she works for 6 ABC. Maya Lotta told us that Sirianni didn't speak after the game. Players did. We know the standard. We're coached well. He said it's important for them to speak up, look at each other in the eye, hold each other accountable. Hurts, Brown, Smitty, Reddick, and Fletch spoke.
Yeah, I think that, that pretty much tells you all you need to know. And that does tell you that you're well coached, because if the coach doesn't have to say anything and you're able to just say it for yourselves, then that is the sign of a well coached team. Did they look like one today? Not really. But I think that's that is not what we've seen from Sirianni football team since year one. That is a very different thing than what we've seen from year one.
And have you ever had a coach that wouldn't be proud of that moment? Like when your leaders are the ones who step up and not just scream and yell, because I don't think it doesn't sound at all like that's what happened. But they just have a very real conversation about everyone on the team, and what just happened. Like I can remember plenty of times back playing basketball in high school or something where like as captains, we had to step up. And sometimes like the coach didn't have to talk, And I think as a coach, that's kind of what you're there for, right? So it's your whole reason for being. So like when you saw, I think John Clark tweeted it. Our first reaction was like, good. That's who should be talking. So
Right.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's important that happened. I think it's important that the leaders of the team stepped up and spoke. And like you said, it's kind of that moment of, look, sometimes I get it. Football's weird. You can't win them all, as they say. But, that's not the expectation of this team. That's not what everyone in that locker room, expects from one another or themselves.
Yeah. So I gotta go to let's just kind of get into the game here. And we'll start with, the Eagles forced the Jets to punt on the first possession. And the Eagles' first possession went incredibly well. Not it was an 18-play drive for 91 yards that ended in a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
However, along the way, what I consider to be the biggest play of the game happened.
Yeah.
And that was the loss of Lane Johnson. And I did see some people tweet out like, oh, the turf. I don't know there was a turf thing. I just think he got rolled up on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if his foot was caught in the turf or what. I'm sure there'll be more information coming out in the next few days. But that would rear its ugly head many times as the remaining part of the game would take place. And look, certainly, Regz, I'm not here to say the injury cost the Eagles the game. There are many things that cost the Eagles the game, but I think a lot of the things that led to them losing the game came from the absence of Lane Johnson.
Absolutely.
And we can summarize that as we go. And certainly I know that the Jets were missing key guys. And I don't want to look, I know how good Sauce Gardner is. I know that they were missing their second corner, who's also very talented. I'm not here to argue any of that.
Yeah.
However, a tackle with the talent and pedigree of Lane Johnson certainly impacts the game far more because of his absence now eliminates their ability to attack those two guys on the outside. So yeah, we'll continue to kind of talk about that as the summary of the game goes on. So both teams then end up having to actually the Jets ended up kicking a field goal. The Eagles punted. The Jets then punted. And this next drive, I believe, the Eagles completely abandoned the run. This was the first sign of Lane Johnson being out that we were really seeing. They were not running the football anymore. They pretty much just shot that from the jump.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if you can specifically talk about Lane Johnson being out. Like, whenever we tried to run the ball, the Jets were everywhere.
Yeah, they're a very good defense.
Yeah, and I'm like,
you can normally line up right behind Lane.
Yes.
and it's just what it is.
Oh yeah,
like
it is a difference. But I think the whole O-line didn't run block very well this game. And again, the Jets are just a very good defense. That freaking Williams linebacker, I texted you, like, that guy was everywhere.
Yeah,
that guy played out of his mind.
I might have to backtrack a little bit. I think some of the game plan was we're going to attack because they're down both corners.
Yeah, right.
And get out to a big lead and then run.
Yeah.
But obviously that all took a turn. However, the Eagles did score on that possession. They went up 14-3. That was the DeAndre Swift touchdown catch, but that would be the last scoring the Eagles would do because the Jets would then kick another field goal. This was the story of the game, a lot of Jet field goals. And I believe it was this possession was the Dallas Goedert. Was it this one? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. This was the first turnover that happened, right? Or was there a different one?
Well, it would have been the second. It would have been the second because they I don't know if this was the Goddard play. I don't know why I'm drawing such a blank. This is pathetic that I'm having such a hard time. Okay, so the first one was the interception. That was the Goddard drop. That one was with like 10.5. They were driving, and that one certainly led to that led to a field goal. That led to a field goal. That was the Williams interception, the one that Goddard juggled on the screen.
Yeah.
Then they got the ball back and they were moving again, and this was where Swift fumbled.
Yep.
So first of all, the Goddard interception, that's not on Jalen. Let's just put that out there. The Swift fumble, not on Jalen.
Nope.
It's actually a really good play by the defender who knocked it out.
Yeah, very similar to that play Jalen Carter made when he kind of turned back around and punched it out. He was kind of facing the other direction and kind of got it punched out from the other side.
Both times that the Eagles got the ball within the 2-minute warning in this game, they did not score points.
Yeah.
And they did not do what they needed to do to win the game. It's as simple as that. So they went into half down or up 14-9, which felt like a miracle in and of itself. But I kept saying they're letting everybody hang around. Like this is exactly what's going on.
And that's when you talk about how when you can score and then get the ball back and score again, how much that kind of puts the game away. Like the game could have been put away right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just, it was just, I just don't know what even to say at this point. Like, it all just felt bad.
Yeah.
So the second half started with them just giving the ball back and forth to each other. And then finally the Eagles had to punt again. The Jets ended up getting moving the ball a little bit downfield, and this is where this was the sack, the Hassan Reddick sack. So they had the ball 2nd and goal from the 8 or 2nd and 6 from the 8, and Reddick had the big sack, didn't fall for the bootleg. And I don't know what Wilson was doing there, but certainly, part of the reason why I just won't understand how we lost this game.
Yeah,
to be honest
they kind of showed someone being pretty wide open in the end zone, and maybe he just thought he didn't have the throw, and it was better to just kind of eat it.
Right.
So
they kick another field goal to go up to cut the lead to 14-12. The Eagles get the ball to start the fourth quarter, and again they're moving the football. Like they're moving the football. But as it was the entire game after the injury, Jalen looks like he has Devontae, and when you watch it from behind him, they showed this. Devontae was coming open toward the right, toward the near sideline to the camera.
Yeah.
And again, he's got Driscoll in his lap, and the dude gets his arm.
Yep.
And it ends up being intercepted. So again, not a Jalen. Like that's not on Jalen. Like that is pass protection that needs to be there for a play that deep downfield to develop. You've got to be able to give him that pass protection. And certainly they were unable to do that. So it was on this following possession that I think that this is where the Jets decided, they took a delay of game penalty to.
Yeah, they were almost like confused as what they wanted to do.
Yeah, they took the delay of game to punt. Then the Eagles went on another long drive, and I can't believe this is about to come out of my mouth. And not a long drive, I apologize, but it went for 67 yards the drive, and Jake Elliott pushed a field goal, which was like just stunning to me.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you needed an indication of how this game was going, Jake Elliott missing a 37-yard field goal with no wind, like, is really and a good snap and a good hold, like, you just flat out missed it.
Yeah, yeah, and again in that situation, it comes in to bite you because look, they weren't moving the ball anyway, but like especially that last possession. And who knows what their drive would have looked like up 5 versus what it was up 2, right? Because in that, and we're going to talk about this here in a moment because I'll hang on to this.
Yeah,
so let's just come back to the Elliott field goal. Now the Jets did nothing on their following.
That was a huge stop by the defense, by the way.
It absolutely was. I wish the offense would have done something with it. Because they this is when it just it went awry. Like they had a nice play to start the drive. The the throw to DeAndre Swift for a gain of 2, and then DeAndre Swift ran for 9 for first down.
Yep.
Then they threw a ball to Swift again for 3 yards. So basically like a rush. And I think that's where the timeouts began, if I'm not mistaken. Or it might have been the next set.
I think
no,
it was.
It was here.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was the next set.
It was
because
the next set. Yeah.
The big play was the 3rd and 7.
Yeah, to Goddard.
To Goddard.
Yep.
So so that throw to Goddard, we said like that's huge.
Yeah,
because
it was a huge first down.
One more first down. That's it. One more first down. So they ran the ball one with Kenny and then with Andre for a total. And you and I texted because the Eagles and we or no, they took their last time out.
Yes.
I'm sorry. They took their last time out. And we were like, do you run it one more time or do you throw it? And I think the reason they threw it was to try and end, because if you punt there, all they got to do is get in field goal range. Now, going back to the Elliott miss, if they make that, the Jets have to get in the end zone, which they haven't done all game.
Yeah.
So then you can run it one more, roll the clock all the way back, punt it, pin them back. They got to go 80, 90 yards into the end zone versus kicking a field goal. So I think that might have been the answer. And then the throw from Jalen was just, it was just now horrible. That throw is entirely on him. I would argue anybody for the others, but that one was entirely
two defenders staring right at him, and he only looks at Devontae on that route, and they just it was easy. It was easy.
Yeah.
I think is this the thing that everyone's going to talk about? Yes. The decision to run it or throw it.
Oh, I thought you meant just the Jalen throw.
Oh, I was going to start at first with just the play call.
Yeah.
If you want to, this is one of those things where if we're going to love Sirianni for being aggressive all the time, this is going to happen. Like, it ended in the worst possible way. Because even if he just throws it incomplete, you're punting the ball away. Like, yes, it stinks that the clock isn't running. And I think that's probably the best argument, is that if you just run it, another 40 seconds runs off the clock, and Zach Wilson has to even get into field goal range in under a minute with no timeouts. So if that's your argument, I'm not going to say you're wrong, because we'll never know, but I'm not going to say it's a bad argument. I just think it's one of those things. If we're going to like Nick for being aggressive and things like that, then this is something that we're going to have to live with sometimes. It was just a really, really bad play. Just a really bad throw. It was the worst possible outcome of that scenario. Yeah. And that's what it was. There's nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, for sure. So we know what happens from there. The Jets run it in on the is hilarious, by the way. I don't know what I expect him to do there. Like, if you take 3 knees or 2 knees even,
right,
make the Eagles take both of their timeouts,
and just kick the field goal with 3 seconds left.
Field goal. Well, it wouldn't be with 3 seconds because we would have had 2 timeouts.
Oh yeah,
down, and they're not running another play at that point. Then you got to rush the field goal unit out. It's a whole thing. But just doing something to make the Eagles waste their timeouts.
Yeah, right.
Because with 2 timeouts and a minute and 40 seconds left, you leave the entire playbook to their disposal.
Right.
Unfortunately, the Eagles playbook didn't matter today.
Yeah.
Because they went 4 and out. Now Jalen on 3rd and long, ensuing possession, he overthrew AJ on the first play. AJ was ticked.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Now AJ after the catch on a first down play and 1-on-1, he's probably getting to the first down marker there. And maybe more, because that dude's not tackling him.
I mean, the guy was right there, but it was just still a bad throw. It's still a play where you can pick up a couple yards.
But what I'm saying is, Jalen got a little cute with the touch.
Yes.
He just puts it on AJ.
Right. Yeah,
that dude. It's going to be a tough. It's Craig James. I'm sorry, we watched Craig James play for a long time. I'll take AJ Brown in a 1-on-1 against Craig James every freaking time.
Yeah.
And then he hit Devontae, but for a very short gain.
Yes.
But even if AJ gets tackled for a 2-3 yard gain, and then Devontae for that 3 yard gain, now you're 3rd and 5. You have 2 plays to get a first down.
Yep.
And you keep that going. Now what Jalen did on 3rd and 7 was you could see him. He did his signal. That means he wanted somebody to deep.
Yeah.
That he's done that before and he's converted before. But I mean, he threw it into triple coverage.
Yeah, and I think
So-
someone even what's his name? Sanchez made a really good point that Jalen decided to kind of shuffle left twice, and Devontae actually had the corner beat, and the safety wasn't back there yet. So Devontae actually was open, and Jalen decided to take 2 slow steps to his left. And Sanchez made a very good point. He's like, all you're doing there is letting Devontae get smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
And you saw the ball was still even a little under, and Sanchez made another very good point. He would kind of like wasn't set all the way. He was kind of still leaning to the left. And like, so it was just a really not good play by Jalen again.
I'm gonna give one guess as to why he was moving to his left.
Actually, it wasn't that bad. When you go back and look at it, it was a pretty big pocket.
But it's a mental thing at that point, man. He's had that dude in his lap all game long.
Yes.
He's just trying to make sure he can get a pass on.
Yeah.
And
listen, you're right.
I don't want to sit here. There are a lot of reasons they lost this game.
Yes.
I just feel like Jalen Hurts is like 2 or 3, maybe max 2 or 3.
Yeah,
like,
but we can also call a spade and be like, look, these 2 plays weren't good.
They weren't. And I told you that in the text messages.
Right.
If you're talking about plays, if you're ranking plays that were issues tonight, the interception's probably 1 or 2.
Yeah.
The throw at the end of the game, I don't even think it's in the top 10.
No,
to be honest
probably.
With you.
I just think it's just another little mistake. That just
it is. So a couple of things that I'm seeing important to put out. The first being that it looks like Lane Johnson's x-rays are negative, so it's not broken.
Very good.
But they do think it's a high ankle sprain.
That's a bummer.
So
if you want to ride the wave of emotions with me there.
I don't know exactly what to think about that, because I know what is. I understand what it would be like for a guy that big.
Yeah.
But I also know how freaking tough he is.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious to know, if it is what the plan is, because I don't know how they're going to beat Miami with Driscoll playing right tackle.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of other quick things to talk about here. I am going to go back to the Jalen thing real quickly. I think that this is really important to say, and something that I do believe. I get the interception at the end of the game, and I know a lot of people are going to be keying on said interception.
Yeah.
At the end of this game. Also, I'm not sure what Alex Bregman just did, unless that hit the netting and I missed it. Sorry,
you're
bases
good.
loaded here, like with 2 outs, and they're already down, and I thought it was a play he was taking, and then you just stopped running. But look, like, this dude carried them for 3.5 quarters. Like, he was incredible in the pocket. I can't believe he didn't get sacked today. What he gets sacked?
Shocking. 1? Yes.
Like, with how many guys were in his face because of the poor blocking on the right side of that line. Like, it just shows how important Lane Johnson is. I looked this up earlier. They are 13-23 in games without Lane Johnson now after today. He has not allowed a quarterback pressure since the year 2020.
Yeah.
Regs. It's over like 2,200 snaps.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, like, for us to sit here and not say that this wasn't some element of today's loss is silly.
Oh,
like,
no.
They looked baffled offensively without Lane today.
I mean, it's just, a lot of people talk about it. It goes, the most important positions are quarterback and then tackles. Like, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, you can't possibly expect to run your offense the right way if the defensive end is in your quarterback's lap within 2 seconds on every play. And the Eagles just aren't, for as much as the Eagles lose to quick throws, the Eagles aren't a quick throw offense. like all the time. As much as
Right.
other teams seem to beat us that way, we,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, aren't that way. A lot of the times it takes time to develop. Maybe this is an adjustment that they can make. If Lane's going to be out another week, that might have to be the offense. They might have to figure out how to make these things a little more quick hitting.
They're going to put a tight end there. They're going to have to put a tight end.
Yeah, and they're going to have to help him. Yes.
I mean, they tried to chip throughout the game. But they're just going to have,
as soon as the ball was snapped, a second later, a guy was in Jalen's lap.
Oh, dude, on the last drive, I think it was the last drive. I think it was. On the last drive, the guy came clean on the inside. Clean. Just clean.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like they would decide like maybe Fred Johnson's an option next week or what.
Can that kid from Alabama, he doesn't play that side, right? That's the issue.
Tyler Steen.
Yeah, he plays Mailata's position, right?
I think he's probably less ready than we want to believe.
He plays left tackle though, right?
I think they're trying to cross train him, but yes, I believe
that's where he played in college, right?
Yeah. So Devontae Smith was asked about the drops. He had 2. He did feel like he was grabbed on the last drive on the play, and he did.
He was a little bit.
Yeah. He turned right around and looked. I don't care that it wasn't called, but he said, I just dropped the damn ball. Got to execute better.
Again, this is like one of those games. It was just from top to bottom.
I'm gonna be petty one time here, Regz. Okay. Yeah. So in his presser after the game, Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, ended his press conference by saying they're not 12-0 and like stormed off the podium.
Yeah, that guy's a jabroni.
Well, here's the thing. I get it. You're excited. You just won a game that you probably shouldn't have won. But hey, guy, what are you like? What's your record as a head coach?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like act like you've done it.
Right.
You know, like act like you act like you expect to win the football game. Also, like I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna keep going. Like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be. It's like, dude.
No, it's true. It's just like, yeah, it is what it is.
Like, come on now. And look, I'm one for the series that I think it's. If I were a Jet fan, but I'm also kind of sitting. It wasn't like you went out and dominated.
Yeah, right.
Like, it wasn't that at all.
You had 5 field goals.
Yeah, well, 4 and then the touchdown.
Oh yeah,
3 yards out.
That everyone
everyone
just went like this, right?
Sir.
Everyone just went like this.
You almost blew it there, sir. And before we move on, and we don't have to spend a lot of time here, I just want to cap to the they played their asses off, and they were missing a lot of guys by the end of the game due to injuries.
Oh yeah, like a ton.
I hope Reed's okay. That's a bullshit hit, by the way. Bullshit hit. And if that's a broken rib and he's out for an extended period of time, they're just in trouble.
Yeah, it's not good.
Hopefully Darius is back next week because
and Jalen Carter
offense in Miami. Yeah, that offense in Miami is.
Jalen would have eaten this game. Good Lord. Yeah. Like again, the defensive line was not the issue, so you can't really say that missing him was some huge deal. Like obviously it's a big deal. He's been playing well, but like overall that was not this team's problem today.
Yeah. I wonder if next week if Sunday night is the reveal of the Kelly Greens.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Because it is Miami. They do have Dallas at home the week.
Yep.
So they could hold off on revealing till Dallas, but they're going to need something positive going into Sunday night.
Yeah.
From a fan perspective.
Right. Going to need a little juju. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you know who doesn't need a whole lot of positive to be excited about?
Who?
The Phillies.
That's very true, buddy. That's very true.
So we are ready to rock. And it is going to be one heck of a ride for the NLCS. It's gonna be wild, man.
Yeah.
Like we're a day away. This time tomorrow, the Phillies will be locked into the second or third inning of their NLCS, their second straight NLCS, and look, they have a red hot Arizona Diamondbacks team.
Yeah,
red hot.
Listen, I'm not excited about it, if I'm honest. They're just like. A lot of people are comparing them to kind of like the Phillies last year, just getting in, playing really well. You know, they're young,
But
they're talented, they're fast. Like, yeah, it's just one of those.
if I may, though, I think one important thing to recognize is not only are other people saying that, but I think what's important is that the Phillies are saying that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the
Yep.
Phillies are coming out and saying they recognize that this team.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like they're going to come in and
Yeah, right.
expect to win.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
they're going to expect to win, but they're not going to expect a series that's,
Sure.
going to be a pushover for them for sure. And I think that's, that's an important thought to have going into this this best of 7 series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is also terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just can't wait. Just some things to talk through. Let me just ask you this. What is your general vibe going into tomorrow?
Like
overall.
I think I have a proper sense of nervousness because you can't go into this stuff cocky. I'm enthused by the fact that, like you said, where everyone's saying the right things. No one is like acting like, we got this wrapped up. That's just not how it is. And I think I'm very happy with like what players are playing well right now for the Phillies. Game 4 makes me a little nervous. if I'm gonna, just give you my full thoughts. But I think the biggest thing that I'm thinking of is win both games at home with your two best pitchers. And then Arizona is such a weird ballpark, and those guys just like hit those stupid balls into the corners and just run forever. And like, it's going to be some weird ones when we get down there. Just take care of your business at home and put this team kind of on their heels. Don't let them get one, in Philly. And then I think you're in a really, really good spot.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of like, again, for me, the same feelings, right? Like I'm definitely, there's this idea of, they're scorching hot right now. They've won all 5 games in the postseason. They have not lost a game yet.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about the reasoning maybe that could be. But it's definitely a situation where this is not going to be as easy of a series. Very stressed.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to start just like continuing this conversation about the Diamondbacks and the playoffs, and then rewinding to their season series before we get into keys? And just sort of start with that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the pitching for Arizona. Now, just so it did beat Milwaukee 2 games in to start the postseason for themselves. They beat a really good Corbin Burns on the road. And they didn't have to face Brandon Woodruff. So that's important to point out. They did have to beat Freddie Peralta, and they did. They got to Peralta. They got to him later in the game. The 6th inning, he didn't get out of the 6th. He gave up. They gave up 5 runs, but he gave up 4 earned, and 3 of those 4 came in the 6th inning, and then they pulled him. Against Burns, they actually. I think I would say I was a little more impressed because they got to Burns super early in that game. He was pulled in the before the 5th. He gave up 4 earned over 4 innings. So he has had his data. And again, postseason wise, I don't know how many postseason starts Corbin Burns has either. That's also important.
Yeah. I don't think it's a ton.
No. So they scored 11 runs in 2 games in Milwaukee. That Milwaukee offense, we've talked about it.
Right.
They drove us nuts, but they aren't very good.
Yeah.
Here's what they did here's what they did in terms of pitching in that series. They actually went game 1 with like a bullpen game. The Diamondbacks. They started. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his first name. Brandon Pfaadt.
Yeah. I never know how to pronounce that guy's name.
Yeah, and you know what? Like he only lasted 2 2/3.
Yeah.
He allowed 7 hits.
Yeah.
In 2 2/3. 3 runs across those 2 2/3 innings. Walked 1 and struck out 4. Now, Regz, he's going to be their game 3 starter.
Yeah.
Like he is going to be their game 3. So, if you do take that is freaking huge.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Here's what he did in his start against LA. 2 hits, no runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. So he will essentially be their game 3 starter. Let's talk about the 2 guys that definitely going to face. Zach Gallen against the Brewers, 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Against the Dodgers, 5 1/3, basically the exact same. It's 2 earned, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. So, 7 and 8 runners of traffic through 5 1/3, 6 against 2 offense going isn't very good overall.
Yeah.
If the Phillies are going to hit like they did against the Braves, I'd imagine they'll get Gallen a little bit more than what those 2 are.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Merrill Kelly, and then I'll get your perspective. Kelly was better than Gallen. 6 1/3, 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts against the Dodgers. He did not pitch in the series in game. So your thoughts about their pitching?
Yeah, look, they're both Gallen and Kelly are both good, and they've been good against the Phillies. Listen, am I as scared of them as like as I was a Spencer Strider for 2 games? Like, no. But do they still have the ability to come out and beat the Phillies twice? Like, yes, they do. But I think overall, I'm very much with you. Like, I think that they're ultimately beatable. Like, they're beatable. And I think the Phillies could, do what they have to do with the guys on offense staying hot and the guys that they have, going. And look, they got to come into Philadelphia and do it. You know what I mean? Like it's 1-2 against 1-2 in these first 2 games. So, it's the best against the best. And I feel better about our guys than I do them having to be in our place.
Yeah. Now against them at home this year, the 2-1, and there was we'll talk about this and then we'll talk about the offense. In the first, this was an interesting series in Philadelphia, just because of what the offense was at that. The Phillies were still trying to find their leadoff hitter.
Yeah,
but they won 6-3, 4-3, and then I'm sorry, the Phillies won 6-3, and then won. Sorry, dude, I'm all jacked up.
You're fine.
Let me start over. The Phillies were 1-2 against the Diamondbacks at home this year. Their only win was that game that Trey Turner hit the home in the 3rd game of that series. And then Bomer hit the walk-off.
Yeah.
Single it would have been a double if the bases weren't. So the Phillies allowed them to come in and win to be it close. 6-3, 1-4-3. The Phillies were not playing good ball at this. We know May Phillies is not great.
Yeah.
And that continued to show as they lost 2 of 3 at home to this team. But then they went to Arizona and won 3 of 4.
Yep.
The only loss in that series that the Phillies suffered was the loss that they probably hit the best. It was a really back and forth game. When you look at the box score. I remember watching this game. I was in California watching this game. The Phillies had a 5-1, and the Diamondbacks ended up scoring 8 runs between the 3rd and the 6th inning to go 9-5, and then the Phillies scored 2 in the 7th and 1 in the 9th, but came up hit Arizona. That was the game JT hit for the Sox.
Yeah, that's right. They were mashing.
So, interestingly enough, we had the season series. The Phillies took 4-3. I would rather them not go 7 games if they would.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Do me the honor. And
for not only my
win.
mental sanity but my physical well-being.
Yeah, I didn't look honestly and see who pitched these games for the Phillies. So the game that they lost in Arizona was a Matt Strahm start. A game that they won 15-3 in Arizona was a Zach Wheeler start.
Yeah.
And Wheeler went 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. In that game, struck out 7. Which is that's a darn good sign.
Mm-hmm.
They won a 4-3 Suarez start. He went 7 innings, gave up no runs in that start in Arizona. The 3 runs that were allowed was the 3 Christian Hurts-Sirianni that game.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to dealing with Christian Walker in this series. And then they won a game 5-4. And this was an Aaron Nola start. The Phillies had a 3-0 lead, and he gave up 4 in the 3rd of that game. He went 6 2/3, allowed 4 runs, struck out 9, walked 1, gave up 1 home run. That was all the difference. That was Aaron Nola's year.
Yeah.
That was his year.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly has a chance to turn that around. Let me look at the start. The Diamondback offense. So one of the losses in Philly was a Wheeler start. He went 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 earned runs in this start. So a little bit different than his start in Arizona. Just a little bit different. All 3 of those earned runs came really freaking good for the rest of the start. He did allow 1 earned in the 5th inning. That's why we don't mention it, because it's unearned, right?
That's right.
The 4-3 loss in Philly. That was also a Strahm game. Strahm went 2 innings, gave up 2 runs. Then Dylan Covey came in 5 innings, giving up. Sir Anthony would allow a Soto and Marte, which would shut it down. So again, not going to get a bullpen game.
Yeah.
This one was a little more effective, only 4 runs in that. And then the win that they squeaked out, I'm guessing that might have been actually a, what do you call it? That was a Ranger start, and Ranger gave up in that 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 5 strikeouts. Pretty
symmetrical.
Yeah. That's great. Love that for us. So let's talk a little bit about this offense that Arizona's bringing. It looks a little different than it did when we last saw them. So the lineup they ran out against the Diamondbacks had, good God, Corbin Carroll right out the gate, leading off, and then Ketel Marte hitting second. Tommy Pham is hitting third for them.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Walker hits cleanup. And then red freaking hot, and I mean scorching hot, Gabriel Moreno.
Yeah.
It felt like every time he hit in the and then Gurriel will hit 5th, who shouldn't terrify me but does. Alec Thomas 6. I'm sure they'll mess a little bit with this. Then 77-year-old Evan will play 3rd and hit 8th, and their shortstop is Geraldo Perdomo. So they're a good lineup.
Yeah.
Are they the Braves, Regs? No. Are they hitting like the Braves did in the regular season? Yes.
Yes.
So your thoughts on this lineup?
It goes back to what I talked about just in general. These guys are young, they're talented. And again, when you look at them top to bottom, like, you're not as scared of the power or things like that, but like, they're fast, they can still hit, like I I'm worried about, I think, allowing a guy like Carroll to like get hot and be the one to beat you. Because if he gets on first, like, listen, Zach's pretty quick to the plate, but you're not holding that guy. Aaron, like, Nola has no shot at holding that guy. Like, and he could just run forever. And then that gets him going, and, all the things that happen. So I think it's very much like Acuna. Like, you can't, the rest of them feed off that guy. So if that guy is going like crazy, then it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, I will tell you that when you look at their numbers offense in the postseason, the four names that won't be surprising that have hurt teams are Carroll, Marte, Pham, and Walker.
Yeah.
Thomas has gotten on base a ton,
Mm-hmm.
but those four guys are absolute killers right now.
Yeah.
And keeping Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte off base are going to be absolutely crucial. The thought process going into the Braves series was exactly what you just said. You got to get Acuna and Albies out, because then that makes Austin Riley and Matt Olson far less
It makes
dangerous.
anything they do that much worse if like those guys are on base for them.
But if there's pressure on your pitchers to get those to get Tommy Pham and Christian Walker out with runners, and now we played in this division for a lot of the year, so they have a book on him at least. They know they know what they can do to get him out.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Walker freaking kills them. this guy because he's from here, so of course he kills.
Of course.
So I certainly expect the focus will be on keeping Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte on bases.
Yeah.
And it should be that. Because as you move through the lineup, again, they are well, but as you get toward the bottom, like Gurriel's hitting 238 in the postseason with a 667 OPS. Thomas is hitting 211, but he has an 812 OPS, so he's still getting on base. He's probably walking a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Longoria's hitting 167 with a 42 OPS.
Yeah.
Perdoma's hitting 167 with a 790 OPS. Like it really, but then you look at Carroll, 412 with a 1.389 OPS.
Yeah.
Marte, 318 with a 984 OPS. Pham, 318 with an 803 OPS, and 294 with a 1023 OPS. Mm-hmm. So like these dudes, those four dudes, and then Moreno, 250 but 107 OPS. The dudes 1 through 5. Yeah. That's it. Now, like when you looked at the Braves, you still had to worry 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
That was still a concern. And not that I'm telling you that once you get past 5, that it's just going to be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
But it's not going to feel the same as it did down toward the bottom of the Braves order. It's just not. Every name in that order you knew could kill you.
Yeah.
These guys might get one. They might hurt you because they're major league ball players, and that's just what they do. My next question for you around this offense, before we talk, keys on the Philly side offense, and then we do normal keys and predictions, is clearly your situation is Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, and then either Walker, Sanchez, or some idea where you go Walker into Sanchez, which Regz is still better than Bailey. I get you.
Yes.
But tell me you don't feel better about this than Bailey Falter.
I mean, yes. Again, Bailey Falter didn't get through. He would get one out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Walker and Sanchez could get more than one out.
Right. And that's what I'm saying to you. Like, I understand it. And hopefully at that point it's 2-1 and maybe even 3-0.
Yeah.
Like if we're being honest here, like you could essentially, the Diamondbacks are begging for one at home.
Yeah.
They're begging for one at home or on the road because they do not want to go back and have Fat pitching in
with us
in a 2-0 deficit. Yeah. That's not something you want.
Right.
Like it's just not. So ultimately, and what wouldn't surprise me, and actually we're not even going to talk about that. I'm not even going to but that's the plan with the rotation.
Yeah.
And again, some of it's going to depend on what do they do versus lefties against righties. They probably have not seen Sanchez. They have not seen Sanchez.
No, yeah.
So you could deploy he and his changeup against them, and it could be nightmare on nightmare in a game 4, for sure. But my question then becomes, your bullpen in this series, your bullpen in this series is going to be very interesting because they don't have a ton of now from an actual pitching perspective, they only carry like 3 lefties pitching wise. But from an offensive perspective, they're a real only threat when I look at it from a left-hander's perspective. Is Carroll, and then you can turn Marte around righty, and then they go Pham righty. I believe Moreno's a righty. He is. I think Gurriel is a righty. Like as I go through this line, they're pretty righty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Longoria's a righty, and I'm pretty sure Thomas is also. They are pretty righty heavy. Oh no, Thomas is a lefty. I'm sorry. So and they do a good job of separating as a switch hitter.
Mm-hmm.
So from a bullpen perspective, you've got a ton of really good left relievers, right? You've got Strami, you've got Soto, and you've got Alvarado. Now, Alvarado can get both lefties and right. He's your best reliever for a reason.
Yes.
But if you get to a situation where maybe you have 2 outs in the 7th inning, right? Yep. And they have a runner on base, 1-run, 2-run game, and Carroll comes up. And let's say the 7th inning.
Yeah.
You go to Alvarado in that spot, right?
Yeah.
Like he's the guy you go to.
Right.
But that being said, if Topper manages the way that he has recently, and say he goes to Alvarado in the 6th to go get, I don't know, somebody else because he's their best reliever in a high leverage spot, and he doesn't have him, which lefty are you feeling most comfortable to against a guy like Carroll who's a freaking nightmare? Or, you go to your just next best reliever?
Yeah.
I would go personally. I go Soto because I feel like he did a good job in the Braves series of getting lefties out. Like he got Olsen out twice in that series.
I think I agree. I think I'd rather the lefty matchup with Carroll because, like we just said, your job is to get that guy out and keep him off the bases. Like that is your job. It's the same way you would go get someone for Acuna. You know what I mean? Like it's just the same thing. You just have to. That guy is at the top of your list for who you have to get out with this Diamondbacks team.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this one before we and start heading around the corner here. Who's the number 1 righty out of the bullpen in this series? Because for, I'd say all of August and September, it's been Jeff Hoffman, right? Yeah. He's been the guy. And it looks like they're going to stick with Kimbrel as the dude coming in. Like that looks to be what they're going to do, unless again, they feel like he can match up against some of these dudes and get outs for them in big spots. I got to tell you, like, it looks like they're starting to lean more Sir Anthony at this point, but are you ready to trust him, or are you sticking to the Braves just saw Jeff Hoffman alone? That's why they were able to kind of do what they did against him. Do you think they could go to Kirker in some spots here because they haven't seen? What are your thoughts about the key righty in the bullpen?
My first choice is still Sir Anthony, with Hoffman a close second.
Yep.
I just think while we haven't seen Sir get a feel for his slider at the moment,
right? That was a
pretty devastating pitch for a while. It looks like his fastball is back to having that movement that makes it unhittable. I don't know like what the Diamondbacks numbers are against velocity. Like we heard a lot about how the Braves are against velocity. And so even then it makes a lot of sense on why you would use someone like Sir Anthony in those situations. But I still think it's Sir Anthony. Again, if they brought in Hoffman in a place I thought they should bring in Sir Anthony, I would still be fine. I have not lost confidence in Jeff Hoffman. I think, like a lot of people have said, you just didn't want what's his name coming up against a righty in that last game, and that was the only reason they didn't go to Hoffman. So that just kind of is what it is. I still believe that Sir Anthony and Hoffman are 1 and 2, and whatever way you want to put them, I'm fine. I have not lost confidence in Hoffman.
I think I'm fine with that. Like I think again, some of this was the Braves had seen Jeff Hall, especially like the last 2 series of the season. So, they had seen the slider, they had seen the split. Like, there was no more surprise with Jeff Hall. I know that the Diamondbacks have seen him a few times in those series, but it has been a minute since they've seen him.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm super concerned in that regard.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. I'm good. I feel really confident in their bullpen right now. Just the way that they managed, and not just the bullpen itself, but Topper's management of. I just have so much confidence whenever this dude makes to go there that it's going to pan out. I think he has the perfect feel for the where the game is heading and the numbers that match that moment. So I'm anxious, man, for what that looks like.
I think I don't want Hoffman's confidence to diminish. I don't think it is from the Riley thing. And from everything we understand, Topper would have been the first guy to go to Hoffman after the game and be like, look, we just didn't want, I keep blanking on his name. Who's that guy with the lefty with the Braves? That lefty that they didn't want to face a righty.
Rosario?
Thank you. Yes. I always think it's Arcia when it's not. But I think Topper would have been the first one to go to Hoffman and just be like, look, we have all the confidence in the world in you, but the only thing that loses us that game is that guy against the righty. And I think Hoffman would have been perfectly acceptable to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because that's just how Topper manages. I think that's just how it is.
One dude left on the bench, and he's the only guy who. You match him up against a lefty.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just think that's.
So just something real quickly about this game that I'm watching. Are you following?
No, I haven't started watching yet.
Okay. So it is 1-0 Texas in the bottom of the third. Houston has 2-1 and 2 out for Alvarez. This guy is still really good.
Rex. Oh my God. Yeah. He scares the crap out of me.
This at bat is incredible. Like what the at bat he's putting together against a left-hander. Hold on, I just want to see what he does. I know no one cares about this right now, but I do. He struck out on a really nasty 3-2 curveball.
But still,
this Jordan Montgomery cat is going to make a lot of money this season. A lot of money.
Jordan Alvarez will continue to scare the crap out of me until he is 40 years old. And even then he might scare me.
Can I just tell you though, like I'm rooting for the Astros in this series, unless we were to lose, in which case then I want the Rangers to win. But I want the Astros for 2 reasons. 1, I want home field advantage. And 2, I want to beat them after last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Done and done. So that's that. All right, let's talk about the Phillies real quickly. So from an offensive perspective, I think that we've talked a little bit about the rotation. If there's anything else to hit, we talked about the bullpen in terms of matchups with the Diamondbacks. But the offense, like clearly we want to see things continue for the likes of Nick Castellanos and the likes of Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto, who's really gotten going, and Brandon Marsh, who's really gotten going, right? Like, so they have 5 dudes who have been scorching hot right now, right? Obviously, we've talked about Johan Rojas struggles. I think we're both. You were ready to put him aside. It took me a bit, but I'm there now.
Oh yeah, I was. That was what it was the instant he was in the lineup.
Yeah, so I think for me that leaves you with just a couple of names that we know are really important to this team's success. And if they can get themselves going in any way, shape, and or form, and this lineup is complete top to bottom, that anybody can get you at any time.
Yep.
The Diamondbacks are probably in trouble, and I think that's a fair assessment. It's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
It's just truth, right? Because Kyle Schwarber didn't hit it all in the Brave series after that leadoff double.
Right.
Alec Boehm was basically absent outside of a double in game 3. Or no, game 2. Sorry, it was game. Well, and he hit in game 3 too. But you get it. He had an RBI in game 2 and game 3. But other than that, I mean, he was useless in the Strider starts. Useless. So, I guess my question is, Can those two get going? Do you think that either of them or both of them can get going? What's it going to take for those two to get going?
I don't want to dismiss your question, but I would take it one step further. I think Stott getting going is more important than either of those two guys.
I totally forgot Bryson Stott, and I'm really sorry
because
he is another
their best two pitchers on the Diamondbacks are righties. So, I mean, Schwarber is going to be who he is. Do I hope he turns it around? Of course I do. But you know, the guy who's coming up after all the guys who are hot are getting on base is Bryson Stott. So, because then you're getting to JT and to Nick and all that. And then, so I just think Bryson getting going at home against these two righties. Again, I know he had the hit in game 1, but really he had another hit sprinkled in it, in there. But the last 2 games, he just was nothing. And with the way the matchups are, him getting going against these righties is a huge deal. Because I do think the guys all the guys we mentioned stay hot. I think they stay hot, but I don't think they move Castellanos up. And I don't kind of want them to. I want him to stay where he's at almost. Like, why mess with it? But if Schwarber isn't going to do anything still, but if Trey and Bryce are getting on in front of Stott, like, he's gotta be better. He's got to be better.
Yeah, that's a really bad job by me. Forgetting his existence there in this conversation. I don't know what made me slip. I actually was thinking of it and then totally like peed the bed on that one. So bad job by Mike. But let's just briefly talk about what he did in this series because it wasn't a lot. So he was 2 for 3 in game 1. He walked and knocked in the run against Strider. 1 for 3 in game 2 with an RBI and a strikeout. I think he actually struck out.
That was the sac fly, right? In that game?
In which game?
Game 2 for Stott?
Yeah. Yes. The sac fly after the Nick stolen base throw into center field.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was 0 for 3 in game. I think he and Schwarber were the only 2 overs in game 3.
Yeah.
The game where they scored 10 runs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think either of them got on base, if I'm not mistaken. Stott walked. And scored a run in that game. And then this was rough. In game 4, he was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, he was 3 for 9, 3 for 13 in this series, and I believe that was better than Kyle Schwarber.
Well, yeah, I would agree. That's probably right.
So for me, I hear you. I 100% hear you. Yeah. So let's just go through what Schwarber did in this series, because I think that's for me that's the bigger piece to this puzzle, and I'll explain why. So in game 1, he was 1 for, struck out twice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In game 2, he was 1 for 4 with a walk. Okay. So he was on base twice in game 2. In game 3, I think we already said he 4 with a strikeout in the game where they scored all those runs. Kyle Schwarber.
Yep.
Which is wild. And then in game 4, I believe again he was an over.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was. He was an over. Okay. So he was 2 for 16 with 5 strikeouts and a walk. Now, he also struck out 4 times. 4 of those 5 strikeouts, Strider.
Yeah.
In Strider games. Not always Strider, but in Strider games. Regz, he's the guy for me. He's the guy. And for many reasons. For the Phillies, like, if the Phillies do offensively what they did in the Brave series with Kyle Schwarber getting on base,
mm-hmm.
the way that he can, right? The way that he can, because right now, Regz, his OPS is 62.
Yeah.
That has cut his season OPS legitimately in half.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking at a guy is really struggling.
Oh yeah.
And again, not that Bryson Stott isn't. Bryson struggling. I do feel like Bryson Stott had far better at bats than Kyle Schwarber in the Brave series.
Mm-hmm.
He really did. And the guy we didn't mention, Alec Boehm, if he's going to continue to hit behind,
Yeah, he can't.
He's got to
do what he's doing. Yep.
Now, to me, the Alec Boehm situation was Strider.
Yeah.
So if he struggles in a game 1 against Gallen,
yeah, but again, it's a. I know it's a righty, but again, that's what he's gonna get. That's what we've got these first 2 games. Not the same kind of righty. I understand. But.
Correct. Yeah, we're not talking Spencer. I mean, Zach Gallen's still really good, and so is Merrill Kelly. They're a different type of good, though.
Yes.
They're not throwing 100 with a 90 mile an hour hammer.
No, that's like, very true. Very true.
Okay, so give me the key to this series, the key to the series, and your prediction.
Yeah, my key to the series is the offense staying hot. I think regardless of the pitching, how our pitching does, like we should outslug these guys. So if our key guys can stay hot and keep swinging the bat the way they're swinging the bat, I just don't think we haven't seen the Diamondbacks have to sort of rally back from something like that. But if I'm going to take my chances, I'm going to take my chances on a young team, with not a lot of playoff experience. Go get them. Punch like we did. Punch them in the mouth. Like, see how they respond. Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. You got to test their mettle a little bit. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see. I want to see them test the Diamondbacks mettle, and then kind of go from there. Prediction. Oh man. I think it's going to be I think we win 4-1. I think we take 2 at home. I think they get one of them in their place, but I think ultimately I just think the offense is too good.
All right. So for me, key to the game, Regz, is you've got to dominate early at home.
Yes.
So for those that didn't pay attention to the other NLDS matchup between the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks won both LA games.
Mm-hmm.
They scored 6 runs in the first of game 1 and 3 runs in the game in game 2, first inning.
Yep.
That took the home crowd completely out of it.
Yeah.
That gave the Diamondbacks a ton of confidence. Now, to be fair, the Dodgers have no pitching.
Yeah.
Like Kershaw is not at all Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. And what did Mookie and Freddie Freeman went 3 for 22 or something like that?
1 for 21.
Good
for
gracious. 2 MVP candidates.
Going into the bottom of the first on the road with a 6-0 lead and a 3-0.
Oh, it's a huge difference.
Are such a big difference than coming out of the first with no runs.
Yeah.
At Citizens Bank Park.
But look, this, we just played the team that had scored the most runs ever in first innings. So we can do this.
Right. Oh, for sure. You look,
but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
But that's the key because if you shut down a young team who's had so much success early in baseball games, and they cannot find the same type of offense that they previous series, and you do exactly what you said, which is come out and do what they've been doing, punch them in the mouth, then you change the complexion of the series. They've been piping in noise at their stadium to prepare for the Phillies. And they have no idea that it's not even going to come close to what they're going to experience. Yeah, no,
didn't they have someone say after the Milwaukee series that they were like, "I'm just happy we didn't have to go to Philly first"? Like someone on their team literally said that.
Yeah, yeah. And then today Gallen was like, "Yeah, I think we're going to experience there." He knows better. He's actually like a Philly. He knows better.
He grew up literally around me at my old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His whole family are Philly fans.
Yeah.
Like he knows what this is going to be. I think like he and Christian Walker know this is going to be. Gurriel knows because he's been in the stadium, and Evan Longoria knows because he was here in 08.
Right.
So there are some guys, but like I forget who said it. You can never really. Oh, it was Josh Bell who said before the Marlins series, you can't explain it. They just have to go out and experience it. And before you can get a chance to experience it, it smacks you in the mouth.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about dominating early at home. You have to on both sides. You have to keep them down and score runs early so that they get back on their heels because you just got to make them question
Yeah.
a little bit as you head back to Arizona. We're in a little bit of trouble now.
Yeah. Right. We have to be perfect from here on out in order to win this thing.
I did have 4-1, but I don't want to have this. So I can go one of two ways. I can go that they sweep or that they lose 2 in Arizona and have to come back to and win it here. And look, I just don't feel like it's coming back to Philly. So just for the fun of it, I said sweeping it.
There you go.
4-0. I don't have the same prediction as you. I like whatever,
I love it.
And the only reason I'm not going 4-2 is because I don't want it to come back to Philly. Like I don't need that stress in my life, So yeah, man, it's exciting. I'll just quick fixate and then we'll get out of here because it's technically a real episode. And I'll just say this. I predicted it before the Brave series that if they won, they were winning the whole thing. I understand Arizona's hot. Like I totally get it. And I'm not, this isn't me being over. This is just me looking at a baseball team who is so laser focused on doing what they're supposed to do, right? Like it feels like every interview, it feels like every little piece of this journey, they are so intensely focused on winning baseball games and winning a trophy. I just think that they're so zoned in right now. They're so locked in that they're going to be difficult for anybody to beat if this is the mentality. So I'm really just fixated on the mentality. And we'll know if they have the same mentality. Like we will know. We will know from the jump.
Absolutely.
Is Zach Wheeler? Is the offense the offense?
Yep.
We will know right away if this team is locked in because they have a chance to make a statement against a team who might not be ready for that.
Yeah.
They might not be ready for that.
Absolutely.
If they don't, we could be in for a long series.
Yeah.
So I'm just fixated on this team's mission right now, how they business-like mentality from the jump of all of it.
Yeah.
So they're favored in this series. And I just hope that doesn't change their mentality, Rex. That's all. That's sort of it. Just keep the mentality. If you keep that mentality, you're able to beat. And I do feel like there are enough to carry that out. Yeah. And make the mission the mission, right, as Jalen says. Jalen said one more thing before we go to that struck me. He said, rent is due and the check bounced. Well, you got a chance to make that money back next week.
Yeah, some people are like freaking out, like, "Oh, why give him this contract if this is what he does?" It's like, all right, man. Like, nobody's perfect. Stop. Tom Brady lost to Eli Manning twice in the Super Bowl. Like,
Stop.
What do you want to do?
And just one last thing on the Eagles front, and then we're gonna end on a positive. I'm just gonna say one more thing about the Phils, and then we're done. So the Lane Johnson situation. Most people are saying high ankle sprain, 3 to 4 weeks, offensive line. So you do have a choice here. You can try and sustain it for 2 weeks against us. That doesn't sound fun.
No.
Against those 3 teams. Or you can bring him back early. Apparently he did play on this injury in the past, but it locked him down. He doesn't have a ton of career left.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if you say to him, we're going to you, he's going to back out there ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Juice me up and I'll play because they have the buy out of that. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. Here's the positive vibe. We have Bryce Harper.
Yes, we do.
So all right, everybody, yes, we appreciate you listening. Regz, are we going to do a recap tomorrow?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
All right. I don't think we're going to do one Tuesday for those of you just say that straight up because Regz has.
That'll be very late in the morning. Yeah, that'll be.
Yeah,
I don't think I was home till
Regz
1 a.m. I wasn't home till 1 a.m. last time.
Yeah, Regz will be at the game, so we're not gonna do a recap of game 2. What we'll do is we'll sort of recap games 2 and 3 on Thursday after a game.
Yeah.
So, because game 3 is on at 5 on
Right.
Thursday night.
Yep.
So we can just do our recap of games 2 and 3 together. That's all.
Sounds good.
So until then, until tomorrow night, yes, Tuesday morning, listening, take care of yourself. Take care of one another. Oh, wait, hold on. Make sure you follow us everywhere. So we've got 5 new subscribers on the YouTube channel. Like, that's a big deal. We appreciate that. So keep that coming after postseason games. So until we talk to you on Tuesday morning, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Be good to yourself. Be good to one. Birds, whatever. We move on. And Phils, let's go.
Let's
tomorrow.
go, baby.
Go Phils.
Come on, Phils. You can do it.
Oh my God! Deep to right field, way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.